What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network and the Woodward Bets Show. I'm Scott G. Risen, also known as G. Risen in DFS circles, joined today by Chris, also known as Detroit Beastie. What's going on, Chris?
Hello, Scott. Thank you for having me. You always catch me off guard at the start of the show when you go, "What's up?" I kind of flinch there because it's so exciting. Thanks for having me.
Sounds good, buddy. You got to bring the mojo. You got to bring some excitement here. That's what we're looking to do, because we're going to give out some winners and have some fun today on our show. There was some news today that popped out. It looks like Antonio Brown potentially could be out this week for some COVID issues. He tested positive for COVID today. Apparently, he does have his vaccine, so he just needs to test negative 2 days in a row, I believe. So he can actually start testing Saturday, I believe I read. So if he tests negative Sunday morning, he may be able to get to play. Looks like Justin Fields was announced the starter today for the Bears. We kind of talked about that a little bit in our players that we wanted to pick up. But Darrell Henderson looks like he may be out. Looks like Sony Michelle may get some more run. What do you think of that big news we had going across the landscape today?
Well, the one thing I want to mention is what the heck's going on in Chicago with the Bears. I talked about it a little bit in like little smatterings across the board here, and in my written DFS article. Matt Nagy in Chicago just bugs the heck out of me. I think he's in over his head. He doesn't really know what he's doing. And there was a post or a tweet that I shared yesterday. Is Coach Matt Nagy like the new Adam Gase, where he suppresses all the talent? He's not really using, his studs. Look at what Allen Robinson's done the first 2 weeks. Yes, he cleared the bet and he scored a touchdown like the first 2 minutes of the game, but it's just not how you should be using one of the premier wide receivers in the league. And then now he says, well, Andy Dalton is our starting quarterback, but now it's going to be Justin Fields. Who knows how that is going to go? I just don't trust the guy. I think he's still going to want to get Andy Dalton kind of sprinkled in there if he's healthy. I think that might be the issue though right now, is Andy Dalton is under the weather, or he's got some sort of soft tissue injury. So, full steam ahead for Justin Fields, but I'm telling folks, temper your expectations. It's not going to be, all sunshine and rainbows in Chicago anytime soon.
I agree with you there. That kind of seems like dumps fire. Just glad they're in our division. Being a Lions fan, it looks like we might be able to get 2 victories out of that. But so today on the show, we did bring up on Friday what we're going to do. We're going to have a little special segment where we're going to talk about some start and sit questions. So, hey, get over to that Woodward Bets Twitter page. Give us a follow. And then if you got any questions for Friday's show, make sure you put it in there, and we'll do our best to get to as many as we can and answer those start-sit questions, DFS questions, whatever you may have. But today on the show, we're going to break down some MLB slate. We got 10 games out there tonight. And then we're going to look at some NFL early line movement that's kind of happened over the last day or two to see if there's anything that we need to kind of pay attention to. And then, we're going to talk about a new segment that we're going to call Tilted. And what we're going to do is talk about type things that could have cost you your fantasy game, or maybe somebody didn't come through for you, or something happened that just tilted and you want to tell somebody to KMA, you know what that means. But, so let's get into it, though. I think, let's kind of go to these free agents. I know we talked a little bit about them yesterday, Chris, but is there anybody new today with some of this news today that you might look at? I know we talked about Fields, a little Sony Michelle, Moore, and Ruggs, and maybe even Sam Darnold. But any of the news, maybe a Scotty Miller with this Antonio Brown? What do you think?
Well, Scotty Miller, I'm glad you brought him up. Scotty Miller's like a good, he's more so better used in DFS formats as a punt play. I believe on FanDuel, Scotty Miller's like $4,800. We don't know how many snaps he's going to see. Again, he's better suited as like a punt play in like a big GPP. In seasonal formats, absolutely not. In a 10-team league, 12-team league, even in a 14-team league, I don't even know if Scotty Miller is worth our attention here. But one guy, just really quick, it's Sony Michelle. We talked about him briefly on Sunday in studio here, that maybe Sony Michelle can get a little bit of run on Sunday. And lo and behold, most of it was in one drive, but he was just eating up yardage in certain chunk plays here. So I'm all in on Sony Michelle this coming week as the Rams play Kansas City in Kansas City.
Yeah, I do like Sony Michelle. Obviously, they traded for him, right before the deadline. So I do like Sony Michelle. I actually grabbed him on one or two of my teams last night. He wasn't picked up, which was surprising to me. But just always trying to keep my ear to the ground, listen to this news, especially in this recent times with COVID. You just never know what could be happening. So just always got to try to pay attention, which we'll try to help you keep up with as we go along day to day. But so let's bring on our new little segment here that we want to call Tilted. We just kind of like to have some fun. We want to talk about things that possibly happened to you last weekend that maybe cost you your game, or it's just mind-boggling. One, somebody just isn't performing up to expectations, whatever else. So I actually had one, and what we wanted people to do is this, again, follow our Woodward Bets page. Get over there if you got a situation like this that could have cost you or tilted you. Send that over to us, and we'll see if we can get it on and talk about it. But one of the situations that came up late, Chris, was I had a buddy who has 4 points from CEH. All of a sudden, CEH fumbles in the last minute, lost 2 points, put him back. He ends up losing. Oh. Man, that's just tilting. That's tilting. So, for him, over to the other guy there, I think he wants to give you a KMA. Kisses, what? I mean, damn, that just hurts right there. So I've heard of a few other guys that talking to some other people, that late CEH fumble may have cost them. And, here we got it right here on the screen for everybody to see. So, hey, if you were the guy that lost, here's just another salt in the wound here while you're watching our show, which, hey, we like to do. But, Chris, did you have anybody or anything with this CEH fumble, anybody that cost him?
No, not with that. That was awful. And I told you in a text message this morning, I've been fading Clyde Edwards-Helaire since day one, and I've caught a lot of heat for that. But, you stick to your guns and your conviction, and who's laughing now? Again, Kansas City's offense is fantastic, but they just don't place too high of importance on the running back position. It can basically be like a revolving door. They'll make a star out of someone, then they'll split in free agency, and then they kind of fade off into the sunset here. So to me, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a massive fade. I don't want him anywhere on my teams. Personally speaking, really fast, Cole Comet has me tilting yet again, 2 weeks in a row, did absolutely nothing. I believe, too bad I couldn't get you the graphic here, but I have it, right here on my phone. Cole Comet for the second straight week, only 1 point in my 14-team full point PPR IDP dynasty, and I lost by only 3 or 4 points. So really all I needed was 2 catches for like 15 yards from the guy, and he couldn't even get it done. So for the foreseeable future, I am fading all Chicago Bears.
Man, oh man, I see why you're mad at Nagy there. There's the root cause right there, everybody. He was mad at Nagy because he got it there. But hey, I understand it's tilted. And what I was tilted about? I had a lot of Nick Chubb and a little bit of Kareem Hunt last weekend. And how in the hell do the Browns score 2 rushing touchdowns and not one of them's named Chubb or Hunt? Who in the hell is Andy Janovich? And what is Baker Mayfield running in balls for? It's like, come on. Browns, you're going to have to KMA on this one too. I mean, this is ridiculous. Use your Chubber. Chubby's the man. Get the Chubby in there. But
just when you think you got it all figured out, just when we think we have it all figured out, something said that there's just no rhyme or reason why either one of the Cleveland Browns running backs shouldn't be in the – every time the Cleveland Browns score a touchdown on the ground, it should be either Chubb or Hunt. I mean, that's realistically speaking. But again, that's in my mind. And a lot of times my mind doesn't make sense.
I agree with you. One other thing, too, that's got to be tilting everybody last week. What in the hell's wrong with Alvin Kamara, or maybe yet alone that coaching staff? How do you give Alvin Kamara 4 carries? 4. How do you give Alvin Kamara 4 carries? I don't understand that at all. That's got to be tilting for all these Alvin Kamara managers. Chris, are you concerned about Alvin Kamara moving forward?
Absolutely. Now, look, if we rewind back a couple months in our seasonal fantasy drafts, right, Alvin Kamara was a top 3 draft selection in not standard scoring, but in PPR formats, non-superflex. It went Christian McCaffrey, and then it was, what do we do next, Dalvin Cook or Alvin Kamara? I know a lot of folks that drafted Alvin Kamara number 2 overall ahead of Dalvin Cook, and then we get this in our faces, right? And again, you got to take that with a grain of salt, because at the time of our drafts, we didn't know that Jameis Winston was going to be the QB1. And we all know Taysom Hill kind of just killed Kamara's value last season. And now Jameis Winston had some sort of MVP-ish week 1, and now we're back in the doghouse. So I don't know what the heck to do in New Orleans. Alvin Kamara was always too rich for my blood, so thankfully I don't have to deal with it personally, but professionally we're dealing with it now. So to me, Alvin Kamara is a massive, kind of wait and see. Guy is too good. The pedigree there is just too high to say, you know what, I'm done with him.
And man, he's got a tough matchup this weekend too. Shit, he's got the Patriots coming up. That game's obviously going to be a tough game for Kamara. So I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel anytime soon for the Alvin Kamara owners. So obviously he's been really tilting, but hopefully he'll turn it around here. But let's talk real quick about. I got up this morning. Generally, what I like to do is just kind of check out guys that have been most acquired and dropped in fantasy leagues across the industry. And I noticed today right away that one of the main guys that were picked up was Cordell Patterson, led at the top of the site. And one of the main sites I play is over at RT Sports, so I ended up taking their information. I know Yahoo and a few others may be a little bit different. But their top 10 guys that were most acquired were Cordell Patterson, Rondell Moore 2, KJ Osborne 3. Tony Pollard came in at number 4, so people are definitely not believing in Elliott. And then we had Derek Carr coming at 5, which we kind of mentioned yesterday. Daniel Jones, who you really like this week in play this week against Atlanta. Nick Folk, a kicker, made the list. Marquise Brown, Quentin Cephas, our own guy here in Detroit, and then Daniel Carlson. So out of any of them guys there, what do you think? What do you think of any of them guys? And would you think any of them here could be a mainstay on a roster and help you shift the crown this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the one that jumps off the page to me would be 2, actually, Tony Pollard and Hollywood Brown. Why those guys weren't already rostered, I don't know. So this information, no offense to this one, but that's got to be graphics from like a 10-team league, because anything past 12, Hollywood Brown, is ADP, if I'm not mistaken, was like 8th, 9th round. So he's gone in all those leagues. And Tony Pollard is one of the best handcuffs. But to be fair with you, personally speaking, I think Tony Pollard has standalone value, and the graphic proves it right there. One guy not on the list, not on that top 10 list, is looking at I have my own little list here, is Demetric Felton in Cleveland, one of their running backs there, because of what happened last week. And that's how fast, I know the tilting segment was, moments ago, but this is how bad people freak out. Felton is been added in almost 100,000 leagues because, what are we doing with Chubb? What are we doing with Hunt? It's only been 2 weeks. We need to calm down. And one more in passing before I eat up all the broadcasting air is Daniel Jones. This guy is 3rd overall in the league in terms of quarterback rushing yards. I don't think that's a fluke. I think they're going to use that to their advantage. It came out of nowhere in a way, and they're going to keep running this kid. So you love to see it.
Yeah, Daniel Jones, I do a lot of research and a lot of looking around the industry, what everybody's talking about. Daniel Jones is getting a lot of love this week, and rightfully so. So we'll see. But let's get to the most released guys, which, I kind of laugh at a couple of them on here. Jason Sander, he was number 1 release. Marquez Callaway, who was DFS chalk the first week for New Orleans there. And then Jarvis Landry got put on the IR. I think he's on the IR for 3 games he's going to miss. Then you got Chenault over there with that dumpster fire down there in Jacksonville. And then this is the one who surprised me, was Brandon Ayuk. I'm surprised people are kind of giving up on him already. And then, of course, Winston. Tua's got some broken ribs. So that's going to be interesting there. That's another guy that came up today. And then you got Tevin Coleman, Ronald Jones, and then Trey Sermon made the list. But some pretty decent names on here. A lot of them were actually drafted. But the Jarvis Landry one really burned me last week. I had quite a bit of them in DFS and went out quite early. And boy, like I said, that was tilting. But are you surprised by any of these names on this most released list?
No, look at Marquez Callaway, right? Life comes at you fast here, right? About like a month before the season, everybody, right? Excuse me. After that last preseason game for the Saints, everybody was, going they were head over heels in love with Callaway, and then he did nothing in week 1 on Jair Alexander Island. Week 2 kind of showed it didn't really do much. So it's crazy to me, the turnover in fantasy football. It's always been, what have you done for me lately? But from Callaway to go literally from the top of the mountain to the scrap heap that quick it's very entertaining. I find it extremely funny.
Yeah, I think Miami, though, losing Tua, that's going to really hurt them moving forward. Looking at that, and then I heard Carson Wentz might try to get out there and play this week. So there's a few injuries, quite a bit of injuries, actually, we're going to have to pay attention to. But yeah, I was surprised here by a couple of them guys on the list. Like, I'm surprised people are giving up on Jameis already. I mean, gosh, the guy had one bad game. I mean, yes, he's probably due for another bad game this week going against New England. But, yeah, I was surprised. I mean, if there's anybody here that I might look at maybe stashing if I had a pretty good-sized roster, I might look at maybe stashing Landry if I can. I mean, when he comes back, I mean, he's still going to be one of their top receivers, obviously. But the Brandon Ayuk's the name I saw that I was kind of surprised about. Yeah. So let's move on to these line moves that we want to look at here. There was some early line moves, so I was just kind of looking at them. Any line move that kind of moved around more than a point from either the opening spread or the over under. If it went up or down. So we'll just go through some of these games. Some of them had minimal live movement, so we'll just, kind of skip over those, and we'll talk about the ones that did have, some line movement. But we'll start with that Tennessee game. So Tennessee actually went from 6; they're down to 5 against where are they got? I lost my train of thought. Yeah, they got the Colts. So that game there went down. The over-under actually went down too, from 50 to 48. So people are betting it down. Do you got any thoughts about that?
No, I mean, I have the final. It hasn't changed. Tennessee winning 31 to 23. So I still have them winning by 8 points. So I'm still going with Tennessee -5 here. Not that big of a deal. Again, this is one of those games where two teams come in, and before we look at it, we're like, both teams, Tennessee is due for a bounce back game. They kind of had one last week, and the Colts the same way. They couldn't catch a break, and now they're facing each other, and only one team can win here. So which one is it going to be? If I had to put all my eggs in one basket, it would be with the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, I got to believe this over-under line movement is probably because of the news of Wentz. So if Wentz isn't good to go and you start hearing that, might want to jump on this over-under. I think it could even go down a little bit further if that Wentz news comes out here even earlier. So keep that in mind. But the next game we got is the Giants in Atlanta. Doesn't seem to be too much line movement here at all. I seen, half point here and there. So it's really not too much to talk about in that game. But, as you said, we know you like Daniel Jones. So I do like some Giants there, but there really hasn't been too much line movement.
Yeah, nothing to see here. It's just it's only Wednesday, and we'll get what we get from that one. So again, yeah, I'm not wavering or faltering from a full-blown New York Giants stack in DFS circles this weekend.
And the next game we got is our beloved Lions going up against the video game machine himself, Mr. Lamar Jackson. The spread hasn't really changed. It did open up at 7.5. I saw it at 9 at a couple other books, but the 7.5 is interesting. It really didn't go anywhere, which I was surprised. I thought it would go up. But the over-under actually went up from 49 to 49.5. So people are obviously liking that over. I do like the same thing as well. I think the Lions have been giving up 30 points almost religiously here recently. So, I actually think the Ravens could get up there in the 40s. So, I mean, we can get the Lions and maybe get us 2 touchdowns, maybe a junk touchdown at the end. I think, obviously that could put this game over. But, I think I'm just going to be looking at some overs till the Lions can show me they can hold teams under 30 points. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And to be fair, no offense to the Lions. I love them, born and raised with the Lions, but I would be comfortable taking Baltimore, minus 25 points, which would never happen. But I'm saying, Baltimore is going to be a nasty game. So the line movement here, one way or another, I mean, again, it'd have to get to like, minus 35 for Baltimore for me to go, oh boy, we need to look at this.
Yeah, I agree. I like that 16 tees we were kind of talking about yesterday, dropping that down to, like 1.5 or 2, just to keep it below 3. That seems intriguing. But the next game we got Arizona and Jacksonville. Doesn't seem like there's too much line movement there. With Jacksonville, obviously they're struggling. Arizona's got video game number 2 over there in Kyler Murray. He's fun to watch, but really nothing going on there. So we can kind of skip through that one. The next big game that I had on here was the Chargers and the Chiefs. Minimal line movement in this game as well. There hasn't been really too much at all. I was trying to see, I thought maybe the over might move up a little bit here initially, but that hasn't happened. But I think this game here is one of the premier games of the week. Not the premier game, but it's definitely in the conversation. But you got any thoughts about any kind of line movement where you think it may go on this one?
Yeah, I do like the over here big time. I think each team scores 30 plus points in this one. And I think it's close enough where I would be absolutely very good off with taking the Chargers plus 6.5. I think we're good there. I think it finishes within like 3 points. The Kansas City wins by 3 or 4 points, but the Chargers will cover getting 6.5.
I like it. The Chiefs are just a machine at home. I mean, you're right. I think both of them are going to put up a lot of points. So I do like that. Let's move to your favorite team. We got the Bears playing Cleveland. That opened up. The only line movement I really saw was the over-under opened up at 47. It actually dropped down to 46. So I don't know if that's a reflection of Landry being out or what. But, this one's gone down to 46. It's really the only movement here. I do lean toward the under, especially with Justin Fields coming into play. I think it's going to be more of a running game. That clock's going to be running, especially you got the two-headed monster over there in Cleveland. So, I think this is going to be a smash mouth type football game, Big Ten type football. I kind of like – actually, if I would kind of handicap this game myself, I probably would have put it at like a 43 or a 42. So I actually think you're getting a touchdown or a field goal here. But I do like the under. What got any thoughts on this one?
Oh yeah, on the under in this game is probably right now my favorite bet of the week here. I think Chicago struggles to put up 13, 14 points in this one. Cleveland should win with ease, put up 24, 27 points compared to the Chicago Bears like 10 or 13 realistically. So I am absolutely all over the under in this one.
I like it. I agree with you. I think Chicago's going to struggle, especially with Fields. Obviously, this isn't preseason or anything else. They're going to throw all kinds of different looks at him defensively. I think he's gonna struggle.
Yeah.
It's
all fun and games when you put him inside the red zone, one drive every 2 drives, whatever, you get Andy Dalton out and you put Fields inside the 5-yard line for some sort of gimmicky, up the middle touchdown, let him spread his wings or his legs, however you want to put it. That's one thing, but to have him in there at all of the snaps, kid's going to struggle. And people already thinking, Chicago, they're going to win the Super Bowl. Justin Fields is the second coming. It's going to be a different story when he's under center for 100% of the snaps.
I agree. If they get in a deep, like a long third down situation, I think they're going to really struggle with that. So we'll see about that. But I'm already going to get on that over under 46. I don't want it to get down to 42, 43, which I think it does actually have the potential to drop quite a bit, especially now with Justin Fields being named the starter for the week. The next game we got here is New Orleans and New England, which I think is actually a pretty good game on paper. New Orleans has been struggling though recently. New England obviously is tough, but this over-under did make a little bump down to 42. It opened up at 43, so it's being bet down already to 42. I kind of agree with the line movement here. I like the under here again, as we were saying. Kamara has been struggling. I think New Orleans, without a passing game, really is going to really struggle in New England. I think New England rolls here, so I think New Orleans is going to keep struggling, even though it is a bounce back spot. But I just think trying to bounce back against this Bill Belichick team is going to be really tough.
Yeah, I'm with you. And what struck me about this game, and it kind of bummed me out, right? You and I we're close enough in age. We're not kids, but whenever you think of the New Orleans Saints playing the New England Patriots, you think of the premier quarterback matchup: Drew Brees versus Tom Brady. Brees is gone, and Brady's not in New England anymore. So we're kind of like, well, this game isn't as fun as it used to be here. So I'm with you 100%. I love the under, and I think this one's a crapshoot. I might completely stay away from this game from a betting perspective.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, you can't bet every game, and that's one thing too, like I may only pick a couple games a week and in the NFL and try to roll on it. The more you bet, I just feel like you're leaving yourself more open for the losses, but which obviously is a part of betting. Obviously you're going to lose like 40% of your bets, even the best handicappers. So, I try not to get too crazy. And just try to narrow it down to make some convictions and roll with what I like and go from there. I don't like to try to just to guess and stuff like that. But the next game we got on here is Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. Now this one actually dropped 2 points. It opened up at 45.5 as the over under. And this one here didn't really have any line movement on the spread, but it went down to 43.5. So it dropped down 2 points, which is one of the biggest line drops of the week so far. But yeah, I think this game being normally this is just a smash mouth game, Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. They're obviously bitter rivals. We know about that. Maybe it's calmed down a little bit here recently, in the last couple of years without some of the Burficts and some of these other guys that were just looking to take each other's heads off all the time. But yeah, this is always a smash mouth game. So I don't know if that's the reason why it's dropped down. But I know Big Ben's hurt. He's kind of struggling a little bit. That may have something to do with it. But for some reason, I like the Bengals here.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%, and I'm still very comfortable betting the under here. Once we get to like over under 40, which I don't think happens, I'd still be that is danger territory. But as it stands right now, I believe you said it started at like 44.5, and looking at it now, it's at 43.5. So I'm still betting the under, and I do love Cincinnati getting the points in this one. So I think that's a nice little move we can take here, under, and give me Cincinnati +3.
Sounds good. Something just came up to me. I think in the past, generally a lot of people like to bet the overs the first couple weeks just to, defenses haven't really got to sit in and, hone in their craft. And generally, I want to say week 3 is the week. I know my instincts are telling me from the past that it's generally the unders. The overs are generally pumped up pretty high just to kind of, just combat what happened the first few weeks. And generally it's more like an open offensive type games here in the first few weeks of the season. But I think we're starting to get into that time where you might want to start thinking about some of these unders. And I think that's reflecting on some of these line moves that we're seeing here as we're kind of running these down. But the Jets in Denver are the next game we got up. I mean, kind of seems like a him-ho game when you just kind of hear that. Denver's actually playing pretty well. The Jets obviously are the Jets, but there hasn't been hardly any line movement here in this game. Kind of a boring game, which I think we can kind of skip on right on by. So the next game we have are the Dolphins, who we already talked about, Tua with the hurt ribs. And then we got the Raiders. That opened up with the Raiders -4.5. Well, I know you've been high on the Raiders, and now it's down to 3.5, especially without a Tua. I think this one kind of looks weird. Sharps are obviously hopping on it now. But yeah, I don't know. This one seems kind of fishy. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Vegas wins by double-digit points here. Probably about 10 to 12 points in this one. So I'm still over Vegas minus. Looks like they're -4 right now. Over/under, that's where it gets dicey for me. I'd probably leave that alone. If I had to guess, I would probably take, in my heart, I would go the under here. But the bet that I do love here is Vegas -4. Who the heck knows what's going on in Miami? I mean, it seemed like they had it all going on with all their draft selections, finally getting ready to win now. And then, they've completely just failed Tua. But I know that's a conversation for another show. We're talking bets and over-unders here. But, yeah, I think the Vegas Raiders absolutely roll the Miami Dolphins here.
Yeah, I know you and I were kind of talking about the Vegas Raiders. Do they got that special magic in there, like the the Vegas Knights had in their first season. This is their first season with fans and everything over there. So it seems like there's some good karma going on over there in Vegas. Speaking of Vegas, I need to get my butt over there and get over there to the casinos over there. I haven't been there in a while. Kind of missed it through all this COVID stuff. Maybe I'll get down there to one of these Raider games here soon. But the next game is the premier marquee game of the week. We got the Rams and Tampa Bay. So we got Matt Stafford against Mr. GOAT Tom Brady. This one opened up at the Rams -2. It's down to 1. I mean, when is the last time you saw Tom Brady as an underdog? I think it'd probably be the only time this whole season you're going to see Tom Brady as an underdog. And then it also opened up at 54 and been up 2 points, which is another one of the higher line moves, up to 56. So everybody's kind of looking at a shootout here between the two veteran quarterbacks. But let's not forget, there's some pretty good defensive players on both sides of that other side of that ball too, with Ramsey, Donald, Sue. So I mean, this is going to be a great game. I can't wait to sit down and watch this one.
Yeah, this is going to be a fantastic game. Finally, we get to see Matthew Stafford in a matchup where that's all it's going to be talked about. That's all you see now is the commercials and all the stuff. Tom Brady versus Matthew Stafford. The guy is finally getting his due right in the sunshine. He's in LA, and Tampa Bay is no slouch. So it's nuts to me that Tampa Bay and Tom Brady are an underdog here. So to me, that's insane. I'm going to take Tampa Bay in this one. And in terms of the over/under of the entire week 3 schedule, I think this one is right on the money. I don't think you can win either way. I think the final will be right on the money, right? 55 points. You'll push one way or another. So I'm completely staying away from the line in this one.
Yeah, that's 55 is high. I think when you're looking at games being handicapped in the NFL, you generally don't see a 60 number. I can't recall ever seeing a 60 number. It's probably been a long time. I'm sure it's happened, but it always seems like 56, 57. They can't really go much higher than that. So, I think that's one edge you can get if you really think his game's going to be high scoring. They really can't put it like a college line where, 65, 70. They can't do that kind of stuff. It will just never work. But, yeah, I think sometimes you get two teams like this, you can get a high scoring game. But I will say if the Rams do lose, I'm going to look and see if Stafford and the Rams Super Bowl prop bets go, maybe I get a little better odds the next day. So I hope, maybe the Bucs just wipe them up and then give them some motivation looking down toward the end of the year to where they remember this butt kicking. So I'm kind of hoping here that Tampa rolls them because I am all in on the Rams this year. I think they're my Super Bowl pick. I'm going to say it again. We've all seen this movie here in Detroit already. Stafford's holding up that trophy at the end of the year as far as I'm concerned. So
that would be fantastic.
Next game. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I said that's fantastic. I hope that happens. He's a great dude.
Yeah, I hope he wins. I mean, just for us in Detroit, it'd kind of be a kick in the nuts, but it'd still be good for him. He's a good dude. So next game we got Seattle, Minnesota. I mean, this is another good game at 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock again this week's loaded up with all kinds of juicy games here for us to look at and play here, especially in DFS land. But in the Seattle, Minnesota game, really hasn't been too much line movement. But for me, I mean, this is a huge spot here for Minnesota. They're already 0-2. I can't see them going 0-3 at home. First 2 games out on the road, they lost literally by 2 field goals. I still think this is a really good team. I think they are pretty well coached. So I like the Vikings to bounce back here. This game means way more to them than Seattle. So yeah, I've been kind of keeping my eye on these on the Vikes here.
I'm with you. Sorry, Scott. It's one of those things here where, everything points to the Seattle Seahawks winning, right? There's not too much I can pull that I think, this is the reason why the Minnesota Vikings are going to win. But then when you get in that mindset where a team starting 0-3, especially like Minnesota, that holds no weight in the betting world. We couldn't go on a broadcast or write a column and say, well, I think Minnesota's going to win because they just can't afford to go to 0-3. Like, that is elementary stuff. You'd be laughed out of the industry. But realistically, personally, between you and me, Scott, I think that holds a ton of weight here. I'm with you. There's no way Minnesota goes 0-3. So for that sake, I like Minnesota. Don't laugh at me here.
Yeah, I mean, if it's the Lions, we already expect them to go 0-3, but not a team like Minnesota who we expected to challenge the Packers for the top of that NFC North division that we're in. But speaking of the Packers and Mr. hairdo himself, Aaron Rodgers, which I just can't take that guy serious at the moment. I mean, I get it. He's Aaron Rodgers. I still going to poke some fun at him. But this game here opened up at 48 and has already gone up over under 48. It's already gone up to 50 with San Fran. I don't know about this one. I don't agree with the line movement. I tend to kind of lean toward the under here. I think San Fran's got a better defense than they're getting credit for at the moment. And obviously for Green Bay, have to travel all across the country. I think that's going to be a tough game here for them.
Yeah, I'm with you. Easy peasy on the under here, just for that simple fact. Aaron Rodgers, we talked about him all week so far. He's a tool. He's the whole tool shed. He's the tool. Anything you can get with a tool in the front, that's Aaron Rodgers here. I think San Francisco wins this one. I think they kind of humble the Packers here, but I still believe that the under will come in.
All right, so I kind of agree with you there. The Philly-Dallas game's the next one we have up. There really hasn't been any kind of line movement here at this one. I believe that's the Monday night game. We might get a little bit more as we get into it, but really not much there. But again, let's just bring up here our Friday segment that we want to have, just kind of get everybody in tune with that, where, follow our Woodward Bets page. Get over there, give us a follow. Throw some questions up there. We'll answer your start and sit questions for you. So we want to have some fun on Friday. So get those in there for us. Any kind of DFS questions, if you want to ask, a stack or should we play this guy, just drop us a little line over there. And we'll, like I said, we'll be sure to get to those, as many as we can. But of course, for us DFS players, Chris, you and I, we like to play some DFS baseball. Baseball is one of my favorite sports. We got 10 games on the slate today. We can go through them pretty quick. So over there in MLB, it doesn't look like we have too much as far as weather goes. There has been some weather so far this afternoon. There is potential some weather, but there's nothing really where I see that we got to be concerned about PPDs. But there's one thing as far as weather, though, that needs to be brought up. There's like 30-mile-an-hour winds blowing in at Wrigley Field today. So that's going to make it very difficult for any kind of balls to be flying out of over left field. So that is very alarming to note. So I do kind of like some unders here, but very, very, very windy over there in Wrigley. You heard anything like that of the sort? And how do you handle stuff like that? Because Wrigley does have quite a few wind gains, but most of the time they're blowing out.
Yeah, well, if things are blowing in and it's like a larger part, there's all these things that factor in. But if the wind is blowing in, as you said, at 30 miles an hour, then I think then you pivot off the batters and you go with the pitcher. I mean, that's just DFS 101.
Absolutely. So the 10 games we have, obviously we got the Yankees in Texas, which always the Yankees are tough at home. Texas has been struggling. Then we have Philly and Dallas. Philly and Baltimore. Baltimore's just been giving up a ton of runs this year. Philly is been just smashing the ball lately. We also have the Mets in Boston. Boston's just pretty good at home. Generally, I like to play Boston at home. And then we already mentioned that Minnesota-Chicago Cubs game. We also have St. Louis at Milwaukee tonight, where we have Miles Mikolas and Brett Anderson going after each other, which kind of ho-hum. And then we got a game out there in Coors Field tonight with Walker Buehler and German Marquez. I think both these guys are really good pitchers. Marquez usually pitches pretty well at home, even though it is Coors Field. That one's got a pretty high over-under. Just want to ask you real quick, do you generally, when you play in DFS baseball, do you generally like to go after teams in Coors? I know a lot of people just will fade it all the time because it always has the higher over-unders. How do you usually handle Coors Field?
I handle it like everybody else does. I look at the matchups in terms of the opposing pitcher and the Colorado Rockies pitcher. Tonight, I don't see any reason why we should be all over the Dodgers or all over Colorado. As you said, German Marquez, he's 12-10. His ERA is a little pumped up. It's at 4.16. Walker Buehler on the other side, 14-4, 2.39 ERA. I think there's a few other stacks I like personally, to just pivot away from this game in Colorado. I
agree. I'm generally a guy, unless I really, really like it and it's a shitty pitcher, I either go all in, and I generally play like 3 to 5 teams on FanDuel in DFS baseball every day. So, if I'm all in on a Colorado, I'll just play all 5 of my teams and either game stack it or just go up and down the lineup and have different kind of combinations with my 4 hitters. But again, in DFS baseball, I generally like to play the 4 and 4 stacks, 4 guys from one team, 4 guys from another team, and then fit me in a pitcher that I like. Sometimes I'll go a 4 and 3 stack, maybe throw off a one-off guy if I don't like a certain position. But yeah, we'll talk more about stuff like that as we get along here in the Woodward Bets. Yeah, Colorado is always kind of it always throws a wrench in the parade whenever we got a DFS slate and you got a Colorado home game. But the next game we got up there is the Astros and Angels. The Astros been hitting the ball really hard. They're really good. They're actually going up against a guy that I laugh at, Jansen Junk. I just kind of like a pitcher's last name Junk. I think that's fitting. Kind of makes me laugh. But the next game we have is Atlanta and Arizona. We got some late games there, that being at 9:40. Another 9:40, Seattle and Oakland. Then we got the late game with the Padres and Giants out there in San Diego. But so any of these DFS players that we have, hopefully you guys are, playing some DFS baseball still. If you are, congratulations, you're officially a degenerate like the rest of us. I still think there's some money to be made in baseball. Everybody's focusing on football. And then you get them casual guys who win a few bucks on the Sunday, and then they think they're going to play some baseball, and maybe they're not quite up to speed as everybody else. But sometimes I think you get some fish money in there. So definitely like to kind of get in there a little bit more when football season's on. But before we wrap it up today, Chris, I want to just kind of bring up our top 2 stacks of the day. If you got top 2 stacks, why don't you give those to the people? Maybe give 2 pitchers that you really like today. And then I'll give mine out, and then we'll get ready here. Maybe give a free bet or so that we like for the night. And then we'll get on out of here and let the people get through. But who are your top 2 stacks tonight?
This is going to be the easiest stack that you can actually use tonight, and that's the Philadelphia Phillies. Zach Wheeler's pitching for them, but on the other side of the ball, the Baltimore Orioles, it's Keegan Aiken. He's got his ERA's almost at a 7. And look, Philadelphia Phillies, they're not far behind Atlanta for the lead in the division, so they're still right in the mix, wild card and the division. Last I looked, they were only down like 2 games or 2.5 games. Bryce Harper, every time he comes up to bat, people are chanting MVP. I think Bryce Harper really gets a hold of one. And that Philadelphia Phillies line has already been confirmed. Odubel Herrera, Gene Segura, Bryce Harper, Remilto, McCutchen, Galvis, Didi Gregorius, Matt Vierling, and then Zach Wheeler is batting 9th there. And then in the later games, I always like that late stack hammer, that late game hammer here. And give me the Oakland Athletics here. Still not confirmed here, but Cole Irvin is pitching for them. On the other side of the ball, Chris Flexen is pitching, who's been a pleasant surprise. Flexen, if you look at back a few months, he was a relief pitcher, and they kind of stretched him out, and he's a starting pitcher now. He's won 12 games. ERA is only at 3.66, but there's something about the Oakland Athletics I love. Harrison looks to be leading off, Marte, Olson, Chapman, and then look at the 5th and 6th batters here, Jed Lowry and Mark Canha. So give me that. And a few bets I like the money line on the Arizona Diamondbacks tonight. I just think that with this young team in Atlanta, with Ronald Acuna out, they're still doing the business, right? As I said, they're still first in that division. I just don't think they hang on, and I think Philly takes it with like the last game of the season. Maybe there's a late game last season playoff here, and I also love the San Francisco Giants playing the San Diego Padres tonight. So give me the Arizona Diamondbacks money line, give me the San Francisco Giants money line, and I'm stacking Philadelphia and the Oakland Athletics, Scott.
I like that. I really do like Philly myself. Philly is actually my top stack of the night. I like Philly. I like attacking these teams that really don't have anything to play for, which is Baltimore. As you mentioned, with Keegan Aiken, he's been struggling. His ERA is 7. I think I've stacked up against him almost all of his last starts and have gone very well for me. The wind looks like it's blown out in that game, too, at like 13 miles an hour. It looks like it's going to be close to 80 degrees, 77 degrees. So I really like the weather conditions here. I do like the Phillies. The only thing here is they don't get that 9th inning at bat unless they're winning, even though Baltimore did beat them yesterday. But I really like this lineup up and down from 1 to 9, and I wouldn't even be afraid of playing Matt Vierling in that 8 hole and then wrapping it around with 1 1, 2, 3, and 4, and maybe, ending it with Harper, maybe even getting down to Real Muto. So I do like that stack. I also like the Yankees stack tonight against Taylor Hearn. I like the Yankees against lefties. You got Aaron Judge and Stanton, obviously, just some big boys there in the middle of that lineup. So I really like the Yankees. I think they got potential, high upside to go off for us tonight, get us up there on top of some tournaments. But as far as pitching, I'm going to throw a guy here that many people probably won't really be looking at. That's Joe Ryan from Minnesota. He's a rookie. He had like a 35% K rate down in AAA, really low walk rate. First 3 starts up here in the majors, he's done really well. We talked about that wind blowing in that game here. So as far as that game goes, I don't think they'll cancel it over some silly wind conditions, but you never know. But I really like Joe Ryan here in this game. And then, too, you mentioned Zach Wheeler with Philly. I like Zach Wheeler. He's an expensive pitcher, so if you're going to pay up, I do like him against Baltimore. Wheeler's actually a top arm here in Major League Baseball, so definitely like using him. So those are my 2 favorite pitchers for the day. But again, so just remember, everybody, I want to make sure that everybody, again, knows on Friday. I want to make sure we get lots of questions, lots of things for us here. We need to get as many people over there following our Woodward Bets Twitter page. We appreciate all that, of course. If you see our videos, hit that like, hit that subscribe, do whatever you got to do. But I'm Scott G. Risen. This is the Woodward Bet Show. For Chris Robin, we are out of here. Have a good day and good luck.